That's awesome. Oh, hey everybody. Oh my gosh, it's 7 o'clock on the dot. This is very exciting. So I always like to start on time and respect your time. And I know we have some people who are going to probably log on a little bit late, which is fine. And the replay is available to everyone. So that's pretty cool. Thank you so much for joining me tonight. Thank you for taking time out of your busy day and spending an hour with me. And I'm really excited about doing this webinar. I love doing webinars. I try to do them about once a month or once every 2 months. But I really like to make sure that my webinars are very topical in terms of a trend that I see or lots of things that I hear people talking about. And lately, I've just been hearing so many people talk about a lack of chemistry as a non-starter for when they're getting to know somebody, or when they go on a first date, or even when they're looking at a profile on a dating app or a dating website and just saying, I don't feel chemistry. And I also see, and I see this happen all the time, how chemistry, really that instant chemistry, leads a lot of people astray. And it's just something that's been coming up a lot. And I've been getting a lot of questions from people in terms of, I have this dating pattern that I can't seem to break, and I just don't know what's going on. And I've tried different things and it's not working. And so because of all of those questions, and this is definitely something that's super important, of course, I definitely was inspired to do this webinar. So thank you so much for joining me. And we're gonna get started. Awesome. So who am I and why should you listen to me? So chances are, if you are watching this, listening to this right now, you already know who I am, but just in case, maybe a friend forwarded it to you, and you're all welcome to forward this along to your friends if you think that it would be useful to them. I'd appreciate it. My name is Francesca Hogi, and I am a love and lifestyle coach for single people who don't want to be single. And I work with really awesome people, and I help them to really get clear on what's working, what's not working in their lives, generally and specifically with dating, and how to really craft some strategies so they can meet more people, the right kinds of people, to enjoy the journey of dating and to ultimately find love. And I am a regular guest expert on the Today Show with Kathleen Hoda and Sirius Radio and Huffington Post. I contribute and yada, yada, yada. You can learn more about me at francescahogi.com if you don't already know enough. Okay, here we go. Okay, chemistry. Chemistry is the best, except when it's not. And we're gonna get all into this. So we're all searching for that elusive, magical spark of chemistry with others, and specifically in dating, and of course in relationships, and that's what we're talking about tonight. But just in general, you love when you meet somebody and you just see someone as a kindred spirit, and it feels amazing. And I feel a lot of chemistry with a lot of people in my life, and it's a fantastic feeling. Talk about tonight is something that I don't hear many people talking about. Actually, I don't really know if I hear anybody talking about this, but I'm sure there are people out there, is really how to know when chemistry is a red flag, because sometimes it is. And I also want to talk about how to create healthy, lasting chemistry, because that's the other piece of it. And we're going to get into this in the next hour or so. I'm going to give you a lot of information about all of this. Really want to try to bring you guys as much value here as possible, so you really walk away from this webinar with some insight, not only just insight, because insight's great, but insight without the tools to actually implement that insight is not so useful. So I'm really, hoping to bring you guys a lot of actual tools that you can use. Okay, so agenda, just an overview of sort of chemistry as I define it, and kind of the issues that we're going to talk about. And then we're going to get into the meat of really how to spot the red flags, right? When chemistry is a red flag. And then once you know that, that's great. But then if you don't know how to really tweak your chemistry radar and how to sort of start to reprogram how that experience of that instant chemistry, this information won't be so useful to you. So I'm going to walk you guys through that, some strategies around that. And then I want to talk about how to create chemistry, because you can create chemistry. You can be an active participant in creating it. And that is something that I really want to give you guys some insight about. And then the final piece of this is I'm going to give you guys a special invitation as part of my community. And I hope you stick around for that, because it's going to be cool. All right. Chemistry. So about chemistry, these are the words that I think, these are the words and the feelings, right? Magical, intoxicating, feels like fate. It also feels elusive, which is why it's so amazing when you have it, when you discover it, and it feels indescribable, right? Like if an alien came from another planet and said, how do you describe chemistry, romantic chemistry, it would be a little bit challenging. You say these words like magical, intoxicating, or like, what does that mean? So it's something that we've all experienced, and we know it when we feel it, but it's definitely a little bit hard to describe. So when I think about chemistry, and I think about this a lot, the way that I really explain it is as a recognition of another person on a deep unconscious level. And I mean that, like, I personally experienced this in my life, where you just see someone, you see them from a distance, and there's something about that person that you're just drawn to. And I think we've probably all had that experience. You could be in a room with 100 people, 10 people, 1,000 people, and there just might be one person that for whatever reason, the two of you are just drawn to each other, and you just meet, and there's just that instant recognition of something about that person, which is both so mysterious because you just met them, but also so familiar. And of course, there are plenty of people who believe in past lives, and that's how people who have that modality and that way of thinking really explain it. And I don't know about past lives. That's not what we're talking about here tonight, but I definitely recognize it as a recognition. That's how I think of it. I think of it as a recognition of somebody on a really deep level that you can't explain. And it feels meant to be. It just feels like there's some fate, there's some force here that has brought us together, and we see something and understand something about each other that we logically shouldn't, because we just met, but we get something about this person. So before you guys think that I am like gonna poo-poo chemistry here and say, no, whenever you see someone across a crowded room, that's a red flag. That's not at all what I'm gonna say. I believe in meant to be. Really quickly, the way my parents met, to dinner with a friend of hers, a girlfriend of hers, and her friend's boyfriend, and they were at a restaurant, and my dad walked in, and my dad knew the boyfriend of my mom's friend, and so he saw his friend, and so my dad started walking across the restaurant, and my mom will tell you that as soon as she saw him walking, not specifically towards her, like walking towards the table, she fell in love with him at first sight. And my parents were together from that night until the day that my dad died, almost 30 years later, or 26, 27 years later. So, and they had a really beautiful relationship. So I believe in meant to be. I believe that you can really have that instant chemistry with people. So, but let's put that aside for a moment, okay? So I believe that. Just want to get that out there. But I've also seen how the over-reliance on instant chemistry when dating is often a trap in two distinct ways. So the first is that, and this is just on a really practical level, you risk missing out on potentially good partners due to this over-reliance on instant chemistry. And you don't recognize your own role in helping to create chemistry. And we're going to get into that later. So we'll get to that soon. But just in terms of you know, I talk to people, and whether they're my own clients or just other single people, because I'm always talking to single people, you know, a lot of people who, even to get to the point of, oh, is this like, maybe I want to date this person, or is this person potentially a good partner for me? Just to even get to the maybe, they want chemistry. And you know, I see it when people are looking at profiles, whether it's on Tinder or it's online, and they're like, oh, they're looking at a profile. They're like, yeah, this person seems interesting, but I don't feel any chemistry with them. And I'm like, you're looking at a two-dimensional, you know, 2-inch photo of someone, and you're trying to determine chemistry, and it's just too soon. You haven't even met them first face to face. You know, and forget about even getting to the first date. Just having that as the bar to entry is really very self-sabotaging. And I'm sure you've all had the experience of meeting somebody, whether it was a coworker or going to school with someone or something, some experience where you got to know someone, and you know, maybe it's someone when you first met them, you didn't think anything of them particularly romantically, but as you got to know them, you really started to connect with them on a level, and then suddenly you became really attracted to them, and you had amazing chemistry with them. So chemistry can develop. So, but when we get into dating, we tend to really just expect it from day one. And in some cases, really, like, you know, day 0 or day -3, because you haven't even met them face to face. You're just looking at a profile online. So that's the first trap, right? But that one's pretty basic. This is the other part that I really want to focus on tonight, which is that usually, like I said, when you have that feeling of that instant chemistry with someone, it feels meant to be. That's just how it feels. You feel like, oh my God, that's why I'm so drawn to this person. And, you know, like I said, with my mom and my dad, sometimes that's the case, right? So we tend to, you know, think that chemistry means meant to be, and it's a good thing, right? But that recognition that I discussed, like that's how I really think of chemistry, like that recognition of something about someone on a very subconscious level, is not necessarily a good thing. Because if we have a story, and I'll just give as an illustration, I recently spoke to a woman, she's not a client, but she was just someone that I was talking to, and she was really frustrated because she has had a history of dating men, actually, and she was married to one, and then everyone she's dated since her husband, of men who are all have basically a double life. Like, they all have secret girlfriends. One of them actually had a secret fiance. You know, her own husband cheated on her for a long time without her knowing it. And so she's in this place now where she's very, very traumatized, because she doesn't trust that any man doesn't have a secret girlfriend somewhere, right? Because she's had this experience over and over again. And she's met these guys in various ways. I mean, she went to school with her husband. One of the guys she met through a friend, others she's met online. So she feels like, I've tried everything, and no matter what I meet, every guy that I date has, you know, this is the pattern, right? So like I said, she wasn't a client of mine, so we couldn't get too deeply into it, but just in our brief conversation, I was like, well, what do you think that's about? Like, what's the story? Like, do you think that all men are liars? Do you think that all men are cheats? Like, you know, what is it, you know? And it came out, she's like, well, yeah, you know, every man I've ever known, you know, my dad cheated on my mom, and you know, whatever. And so I was like, okay, you know, so clearly you have a story that all men cheat. It's like blame the victim, and I'm not, you know, trying to psychoanalyze this woman that I barely know, but just, she had a story, all men cheat. And there was something about her. She had a radar. When she met a man who was going to lie and cheat on her, she's like, that's chemistry was what she was going by, making her dating decisions, right? And it's when she met somebody and she had an instant attraction to him, she always ended up in the same situation. So he's somebody, you know, there's something in each other that they recognize on a level way subconscious, right? You're not processing this consciously, that there's something there. Her story is going to be fulfilled, right? It's going to be reinforced by an experience with this guy. And it's not a good story. She's not enjoying it, but it's still a story nonetheless. And I hope that makes sense. And for those of you who are watching this live, if you have any questions or comments, please feel free to pop into the chat at any moment, okay? So you're more than welcome to do that. Okay, so really, you know, really focusing on that last point there, chemistry, instant chemistry can really be a red flag. And so there are a few ways to really determine if that's the case. Now, for some people, when you have you have a story that is not harmful, and you have a pattern that's not harmful, right? And maybe it's for some people, they're only attracted, every time they feel a spark with someone, it just turns out that that person is a super devoted partner, right? Like, if that works for you, like if your pattern works for you, then great. But presumably, if you are listening to this right now, then you have some frustration with your pattern. But really understanding what is your pattern, your particular pattern, is the most important step, right? Like, that's the first step. So a pattern is just something that consistently repeats itself. So if you have, if you date, say you've dated, or you're, gone out with, or you've had relationships with 6 different people, and you had one boyfriend that cheated on you, and no one else ever cheated on you, but everybody else wound up being, your relationship ended in the exact same way. Maybe you were blindsided, right? Like, you thought everything was going great, and then one day, he just came home and said, I want out, and you were like, what? Whatever it is, like that. The cheating is not a pattern. Kind of anything can happen once, but the thing that's happening repeatedly, that's really the pattern. So that's the part to focus on. So really understanding that is step number 1. Step number 2 is, have you ever tried to break it? Like, have you ever tried to break your pattern? So I talk to a lot of people who are like, they're like, yeah, every guy I date, he's XYZ. And I'm like, okay, I can't date these guys anymore because it always ends the same way. And I really want love, and I really want commitment. So, now I decided I'm never going to date a guy like that again. And I'm, only going to date guys who are opposite. Right. But then sometimes what happens is you find out that, like, oh, I thought this guy, he seemed like he was the opposite on the outside, but then actually, so I made a conscious decision to try to break this pattern, but actually it turned out exact same way. So if that is something that you can relate to, having a pattern that you recognize and you've tried to break, then instant chemistry is really going to be a red flag for you, because again, there's something that you are understanding on a very subconscious level about someone that you're picking up on, and you're interpreting it as a meant to be situation because you're attracted to it, but you're attracted to it because it's familiar, not because it's good. Okay. And here's another question to ask yourself. Do you find yourself caught off guard by your partner's character once you get to know them better? So, kind of piggybacking on what I was last saying, are you someone who, every time you meet someone new who you really like, they seem like a great guy, and they seem like, everything is hunky dory. And then a day comes and you just are like, what? Something is revealed that you just didn't see coming. And again, this is a pattern, right? So like the woman that I was speaking about, who has had all the boyfriends who've had, secret girlfriends and fiancés, like, she was caught off guard every time because he was saying all the right things and he was doing all the right things. And then one day she would just be completely caught off guard, and she never saw it coming. So if that's something that you can relate to, that's another indication that chemistry is a red flag, should actually be a red flag for you. So if any of those things apply to you, your chemistry radar needs to be tweaked. We need to adjust it a little bit, and you can do that. And so, like I said, everybody has a pattern. If your pattern serves you and it's working for you, then that's awesome, and go for it. But if you are really continually attracting the same kind of person and you really don't understand why, and if you go out with 10 guys, the one that you're most attracted to is the one who is going to completely same story repeating over and over again, then there's something going on there, and that is something that we need to fix and that you can fix. So how to start to tweak your chemistry radar. So the number one question is, this is really a question only you can answer, so it requires some self-reflection. How much are you aware of but ignoring the warning signs? So one of the really dangerous things about that instant chemistry is that when we meet someone and we have that instant attraction to them, it really clouds our judgment, right? Because it's intoxicating. So you're like, oh, I'm so attracted to this person and our chemistry is so amazing. And there might be things that you're like, ooh, I don't like, he seemed to say something that, maybe he keeps on making these comments about, how crazy his ex is. And gosh, I feel like that always happens with guys I date. And then before you know it, he's making me into a crazy person. Or maybe, he keeps on making comments about how, he doesn't do monogamy, or he's secretive or something, but you're not focused on it because all of the hormones that are flooding your brain are really clouding your judgment. So it's one thing, and most people are not that good at being really, really, really deceptive. Most people are pretty transparent. There's, not that good at really hiding who they really are. So the question is for you is, how much are you seeing signs that this person that I'm so drawn to, that I feel this chemistry with, actually, this may not be a really great situation for me. We may not be on the same page, and this might not end well. So that's the first thing. You need to understand how much of your own judgment you're overriding, because you're going on this instinct of like, this is meant to be because we have this connection. So once you have that, then you can really understand, like, the knowledge is power. Like, that is the first step, because, it's a decision, right? Like, once you realize, oh, wow, I'm going down a road that's familiar, and I know how this goes, it doesn't end well. It's all about recognizing, just recognizing that there is an issue, right? That is powerful. And then the next part of that is, what are you going to do about it? Because if you have the knowledge, like, oh, I think this is going to end really badly, but I'm so attracted to this person that I don't care, then there's no point in having that knowledge, right? So knowledge without action is useless. If you want different results, you have to take a different action. So if you want to stop dating guys who don't want to commit to you, or you want to start dating guys who don't cheat, or you want to start, dating guys who aren't emotionally abusive, that's another thing. That's another kind of really bad pattern. And I talked to a lot of women who, and actually I had a client who I worked with recently, who every boyfriend she'd ever had just put her down and really critical of her. And so she had just gotten into this pattern of walking on eggshells around guys, because she was just so used to being criticized. And, so we worked together. We really got to the bottom of what was going on there. And then I was able to really hold her accountable as she was moving forward and choosing new partners and choosing new guys to date, and really recognizing, like, okay, yeah, like that guy that you were so instantly attracted to, yes, you went out with him 2 more times, and then you realize, oh, wow, by their 3rd date, he was already criticizing me. Whereas this other guy who, I wasn't so attracted to at first, like, he's actually, his character is a lot better, and he hasn't criticized me at all. He's not the kind of person that would do that, right? And she's actually in a relationship now with a really awesome guy, which is wonderful. So she was able to really reprogram this chemistry radar that was really sending her down a bad path of dating the same critical asshole, excuse my French, time and time again. Different action, you're going to have to make, if you want different results, you have to take different action. So if and when you suspect you're falling into that trap, really, really pump the brakes. So when you meet someone and you're attracted to them, and you're wondering, you're like, I don't know, I think this might be the same old thing. And I don't know how much I can trust myself, because the guys that I'm instantly drawn to are always, it's always ending the same way. Just, again, this is about deciding to act, right? So pump the brakes. So I'm not saying that you can't ever date anybody that you are instantly attracted to. I mean, that's not what I'm saying, even though if your pattern is really, really harmful, like, you are always dating guys that are abusive, you're always dating guys that have addiction issues, you're always dating guys who are taking advantage of you, endangering you in some way, then actually probably if it's something that severe, then actually I probably would counsel you to not date guys that you're instantly attracted to. But if it's more of just like, well, I want to get into a relationship, and every guy I date, he might be a great guy, but he doesn't want a commitment, right? Maybe that's your pattern. So something that's not as kind of acutely painful or harmful to you. I'm not saying you can't still date that person, but you need to be mindful. Again, once you have the knowledge, you have to really own it and not pretend that you don't know what's going on, and really take it slowly. If you are like, I just want to be with this person all the time, I don't want to date anybody else, I'm super attracted to this person, like, I know you feel that way, but it took time to create the pattern in the first place, and it's going to take some time and some effort to create a new pattern. So yes, you can go on a date. Yes, you can go on a second date, but maybe that second date doesn't need to be tomorrow. And maybe you tell that person, you know, I want to take it slowly, and see if they respect that. And if they don't, then, you know, that's not such a good sign. But, you know, and just continue to date other people. Yourself some time to make some smart choices without that dopamine taking over your brain. So some strategies here. So I just started talking about this, you know, deliberately move slowly, because that's one thing that, you know, we all do. And I'm 100% guilty of this myself. You know, when you meet somebody and you're just so drawn to each other, you don't want to go slowly. You know, you want to be together all the time. You know, you want to go all in. You know, you want to put all your eggs in that basket, because you're like, wow, you know, it's so rare that I meet somebody that I'm this drawn to, that I'm this attracted to. So now that I found this person, you know, I want to go just full speed ahead. But really making a decision, I'm going to move slowly. One way to do that is to date other people, and not in any deceptive way, in a very transparent way, in a very, like I said, saying to people like, you know, I'm really enjoying getting to know you. I want to take it slowly. I'm dating other people. You know, if you're dating multiple people, I recommend not sleeping with any of them, especially the one who's really, you know, the one that's kind of the red flag, and not out of any morality. I don't judge who you sleep with or how many people or whatever, but I just care about you in terms of your ability not to bond really quickly with this person who might be, you know, not a good partner for you. So here's another strategy, and this is important, is to date against type. So if you are meeting people and you're like, oh gosh, it's just not the kind of guy that I normally go out with. Like, I just, you know, I go out with guys who are this or that, and I don't feel this, I don't feel that. Like, take that as a good sign. Like, and this doesn't mean you have to give up chemistry, and we're going to talk about that, right? In a minute, we're going to get to that in a few minutes. But just to date against type, because your type, you know, your quote unquote type, is letting you down. So your radar for your type is failing you in some way. So we want to start to reprogram that. And so as you are dating against type, just be vigilant about the possibility of an old dynamic in a new package. So what I mean by that is that we can get very caught on externals. So I'll talk to women who'll say things like, well, every guy that I dated, you know, all the guys I dated in the past, they all had this kind of job, you know, they were all tall, they all were thin, they all had this, you know, these kind of external characteristics, right? So, and they were all such disasters. So now I'm gonna date somebody totally different. And they're like, oh, I met this guy and he's amazing and he's nothing like anyone I've ever dated, and he's not tall, he's short, and you know, he doesn't work in banking, he's an artist. And they're like really excited because they're very focused on the external differences, right? But then once they get to know this new guy, they're like, oh my God, this exact same thing is happening. He's just shorter and has a different profession. So this is not about the external characteristics. When I say date against type, I mean, maybe, you know, dating against your external type is, you know, an important thing too, especially if, you know, the external type is a very small percentage of the population. But and I just apologize for the construction noise outside my window, even though it's closed, still hear it. But it's really about really paying attention to the character. So just be vigilant. Just because somebody looks different on the outside doesn't mean you're breaking your pattern. Okay. So another strategy is to work with a professional who can help you identify your pattern and help you strategize and hold you accountable for making different choices, right? And that's what someone like me does. That's exactly what I do. And, you know, there are lots of other coaches out there, and, you know, maybe you have a therapist or someone like that in your life who can help you to really start to understand why you're drawn to the people that you're drawn to, and how you can start to shift that and actually be attracted to the people who are going to be good partners for you. Okay, so getting into creation of chemistry. So as I said, I do not think that there's any point or any value in dating or having a relationship with someone who you don't have chemistry with, right? Like, if you don't feel attracted to them and you don't want to be intimate with them, and you don't like, there would be no point in being in a relationship with them. So I'm never ever advocating that you date people that you're not attracted to. However, I am advocating that you take some responsibility for the fact that you are a co-creator of chemistry. So when you meet people and you have that instant chemistry and it feels effortless and magical and like it's fate and it's meant to be, you don't feel like you've done anything, right? Because you just walked into a room and happened to see someone, but you are still co-creating it. And just in that instance, you're co-creating it on a subconscious level, but you can also co-create it on a conscious level. And so when you think about being in a long-term relationship, and for those of you who are listening who have been in long-term relationships, I'm sure you can relate to the fact that if you want to keep the spark going and you want to keep the passion and the chemistry and the attraction going, it takes work. Like, you don't just sit back and say, come on, chemistry, magically spark. Like, you've got to be a participant in that. So when you're meeting people early on, one of the best and easiest ways to think about this act of creating chemistry, co-creating chemistry, is really to create a cycle of charisma. So if you think about people who are very charismatic, I know you've had this experience of meeting somebody and, physically or whatever, they may not be anything that you would be interested in, and they may not even be romantic. It could be, it doesn't matter what their gender is or sexual orientation, but just someone who's so magnetic, right? And you're just like, wow, this person has this amazing charisma, this amazing charm. And what do people do? How do people create, what are they projecting when you think of them as charismatic? Really what it is that they have a very good ability to make you feel very seen and very recognized, and that they are very interested in you. Not interested romantically necessarily, but just interested in you as a human. Like, wow, you're fascinating. What do you care about? What do you have to say? So really being interested in other people, just in life, this is like a life skill. Like, forget about dating for a moment. Just when you meet people, it's so easy to kind of like look at somebody, size them up, and decide like, oh, is this someone that I am, care to try to get to know or not, especially in the dating arena. It's very easy to do that. But if you start to shift that and think, okay, I'm interested in this person. I'm just interested in them as a human. I want to try to find what's special and what's good and what's unique about them, because there's something special and good and unique about everyone, right? So being interested in other people is the first step. So if you're interested in other people, you are able to convey that interest. And then you're also interesting yourself, right? So you're sharing something of yourself. Again, you're making an effort, right? And you're looking for the good in that other person. So that's really the underlying goal of all of this. A lot of times we go into dating looking for a reason not to like someone. It's, especially when you don't have that instant attraction to them, you're looking for like, okay, oh gosh, what did he say? Blah, you're in that critical mode. But if you shift that to really look for the good, then it creates a cycle of charisma. And so what I mean by the cycle is, I'm sure when you encounter those very charismatic people, it makes you feel good because you're getting that energy and that attention from them. And so you start projecting more energy and attention onto them, which they feel and they feed on, and they give you more, and they give you more, and then you give them more, and it's just a cycle. So it's really thinking of that cycle, like, just as, I know I've had that experience where I've met somebody just in any kind of social setting, and I'm just like, oh, hi, yeah, how you doing? Not thinking much of them. They're so interested in me, they're so charismatic that I'm just like, oh my God, I'm so drawn to them. And then I just they make me more charismatic because I see how interested they are in me, and it makes me more interested in them. So really, I want you guys to think about that as a skill that you can cultivate. So, okay, so this is, again, we touched on this already, really to think about character, especially in dating, when you are meeting people, and whether you're, looking at their profiles online, you're going on a first date, really think about character over chemistry. And so rather than say, is there an attraction here for me to even consider this person as a possibility, instead to say, does this person have the kind of character to consider this person as a possibility? So when you start to do that, if you're feeling like there are not many people out there who you're interested in dating, you start seeking out the character over the chemistry as the first step, you're going to see that there are actually a lot more people out there to date than you have previously recognized. So if they pass the puke test, and I'll tell you what the puke test is, I want you to challenge yourself to really find the good in them and to really create this cycle of charisma that we discussed. So the puke test is a test that I borrowed from the movie Girls Just Want to Have Fun, which was an 80s movie starring Sarah Jessica Parker and Helen Hunt. It's a classic. If you've never seen it, you should definitely watch it. I love it. And there's a line, Helen Hunt's character has a line in the movie where she says, whenever I meet a guy, no matter who he is, a dentist, a date, I always ask myself, would I puke if he kissed me? And I love this test because it's such a good test. Like, honestly, if you meet a guy, feel like I would puke if this person kissed me, then, he might be the greatest guy in the world, and maybe you guys will be wonderful friends, but you'll never be attracted to him because you can't overcome revulsion, right? However, if you meet a guy and you ask yourself, would I puke if he kissed me? And your answer is, I don't know if I would puke, or no, I wouldn't puke, like, no, I wouldn't puke. As long as it's not a yes, then I want you to give that guy a chance. If it's not a yes, if it's a maybe or a no, I wouldn't, then I really want you to try this exercise of really focusing on the character over the instant chemistry. Okay, so remember, and I touched on this before, just like keeping a spark alive in a relationship, once you're in a relationship, it's partially your responsibility to create that spark in the first place. And when you think about this, this chemistry and this co-creation of chemistry, this is a skill that you need not just to get into a relationship, but this is a skill that you need to stay in a relationship that actually has passion, right? You have to continue to be interested in your partner. You have to continue to look for the good in your partner, because you're not going to see that good automatically every single day necessarily, right? Unless you're looking for it. You're not going to, and they're not necessarily going to see that in you, right? Every single day, unless they're looking for it. So it's a choice. So again, just remember that this creation of chemistry is something that's really powerful. And I'm sure you had this experience in your life where you have had chemistry that's developed over time, and it's not any less. When it happens, it's magical. It doesn't matter if it happens the moment you see each other or it happens, a month after you've known each other. It's magical when it happens. And when you actually have the foundation of in knowing a person's character before you get to that point, then you've got a much better chance of that actually turning into a lasting relationship. Because that instant chemistry that we are so reliant on in dating is a very, very unreliable indicator of long-term relationship compatibility. And if you think about every person you've ever met who you were instantly attracted to, how did that end? Maybe it didn't end terribly, but if you're listening to me right now, it ended, right? And so at some point, we have to start to ask ourselves, am I using the right litmus test? Do I have to feel that attraction on the first date? Do I have to feel that attraction looking at a photo on my iPhone, on a dating app? Do I have to feel that attraction to even meet somebody and get to know who they are? So in terms of, it's kind of practical question of like, well, how much time do I give it? And I'm going to get to questions in a little bit. But someone sent in a question ahead of time because she knew she wasn't going to be able to attend live, and she said, "Oh, I just want to know because every time I try to date a guy I'm not attracted to, I never develop any attraction to him, and so what should I do? I've dated guys for a long time and never actually been attracted to them. I'm just forcing it." So I don't want you to force it. But what I want you to do is to give it a real try. And again, not to kind of, if you can envision somebody going on a date or going on a few dates, and I only want you to go on a few dates. Like, if you go on one date with somebody and you're like, I don't know, but he seems like a good guy, he's into me, things about his character, he seems to want the same kind of relationship that I want, go on a second date. And by the end of that second date, has the needle moved at all? Are you still in mode? I don't know. Or are you like, well, he does have a really nice smile, right? I want you to give it some time to see if that needle moves. And if it doesn't move, or it moves into the direction of I'm starting to get into the yes, I puke territory, that's when you stop. I'm not advocating that you date anybody for months or get into relationships with people you're not attracted to. I'm advocating that you give it 1 date, 2 dates, 3 dates to see, with a good person, right, to see if that needle starts to move. Okay. Oh, yeah, here's my question slide. Got here so fast. Oh my gosh, I really raced through this. I hope that wasn't too fast. So sort of recap, and again, if there are any questions, let me make sure I can see the comment box quickly. Okay, if there are any questions, oh wait, I'm sorry guys. Is the chat room? Yes, it is, okay. It is unmuted, okay. Like I said, if you have any questions, really pop in, but to sort of just recap overall, what I want to convey to you guys is, yes, chemistry is a magical thing and I want you to have chemistry. I just don't want you to, use bar to maybe, or a lack of chemistry as a bar to even giving somebody a chance, to even going on a date, going on a second date, right? Just know that, don't expect that chemistry to be there. And actually, one thing that you can really start to do is if you meet someone who is, again, passes a puke test, and is a good person and they're into you, and you feel like they might be looking for the same kind of relationship that you're looking for, then take it as a good sign that you're not instantly wanting to rip their clothes off. Because when you're in a place of actually, seeing the good in someone, but you still have your wits about you, right? Like that's a really good place to be in, because when you meet that guy that you're super attracted to, it's a lot harder to exercise good judgment. It's a lot harder to say, I really want commitment, and this guy is not giving me indication that he is interested in commitment, right? It's a lot harder to walk away because then you have that attraction. So you're like, well, maybe he can change his mind. Maybe he'll come around. Maybe if we just hang out more, he sees how amazing I am, then he'll want to be in a relationship with me. Maybe. It's not like that's never happened, but really we want to talk about what's likely. And you look at your own life and you look at your own dating experience. You don't need me to tell you. I mean, you might need me to remind you, but you don't need me to tell you how often that instant attraction really leads you astray, right? So because you've experienced it, and if you hadn't experienced it, then you probably would not be listening to me right now. So just recognizing, that lack of that instant chemistry as an opportunity to really get to know someone, really get to know their character, and get to know if there's someone who's worth even moving forward with, right? Again, so long as they pass the puke test. And then the other piece of it is, if you have a harmful relationship pattern, if you find yourself, despite all of your efforts, constantly getting into a situation where you are dating the same kind of person, the relationship is ending the same sort of way, there are all sorts of patterns. Maybe the pattern is every time you meet somebody new, you guys are in love with each other for 3 weeks and then it's fizzled out and you're like, maybe that's your pattern. Is that every time you meet someone new, you're kind of, you get into this place of being very, very insecure, and you're just in this constant state of anxiety and hoping this person is going to like you enough, and they don't, right? And maybe that's your pattern, right? You're always kind of chasing after somebody who's giving you just enough attention to kind of keep you hanging on, but not enough to really be the kind of really engaged relationship that you need, right? Maybe that's your pattern. Everybody has a different pattern. Or maybe you're on the other side of that, and every time you date somebody, it winds up being somebody who wants so much more of your time and attention than you are any interest in giving. And then so you're always in a position of feeling like, this person is so needy. And, why is every guy or gal I date just so needy? Maybe that's your pattern. But whatever your pattern is, if you want to break it, then it's going to take a deliberate effort on your part to recognize that instant attraction you have to someone is not a good thing. It's not serving in this. If you have a pattern that doesn't serve you, it's unwanted, right? It's an unwanted dating pattern. It's an unwanted relationship pattern. When you meet someone and you're instantly attracted to them, it's not that it's meant to be, it's that you are recognizing something about this person. And that recognition is that they are a co-creator, right, in a particular dynamic. And if that's a dynamic that you want to break, then it's going to be up to you to say, oh, I see what's going on here. I'm so attracted to this person that I want to take a step back, and I want to take it slowly, and I want to think this through, and I want to make sure same thing that I always do, right? And so some strategies for doing that, just really, really pump the brakes, take it slow, Don't sleep with them right away. Really get to know their character. Date other people. Talk to professionals like me or your therapist or another dating coach or life coach or whatever, right? Like there are lots of different ways to approach this, and it's only you can know how much ability you have to do this on your own. But you do have an ability to do it. And so that is something that I want to very, very much convey to you guys. This is all something that you can change. I mean, I know for myself, just to give you guys a personal example, I for years was that girl who every guy that I was with, and I was in a relationship for 7 years, and even him, I mean, I loved him, he loved me, but I was always the one who was like wanting more than I was getting. Always. That was always my dynamic. Every guy that I met, he was just always wanting, ooh, Shoshana, tell me what your definition of chemistry is. I just got a comment from Shoshana. My definition of chemistry is different. I was always wanting that. I was always wanting more than I was getting. And every time I would think, this is a different dynamic. This is a different dynamic. Ultimately, it revealed itself to be the same. So I know what it's like, and I had to make a very conscious effort to stop dating that same kind of guy over and over again. Okay, and it required me walking away from people that I was really attracted to. I'm like, damn it, I really want to do this, but I really know this is not going to be good for me. Okay, Shoshana says, I never looked at it as magical. That's so funny. Well, did you look at it as being, something that was, enjoyable, intangible? Like there is something, even if it didn't feel magical and like, oh my God, this feels so magical, or like you're consciously thinking of it that way, when you look back on it, you can't explain it. You can't explain why it is that you can come across 1,000 people and then there's just one that you're like, that one. I don't know why, but that's the one that I want. That's the one that I'm drawn to. There is something really magical about that and something very cool about it. But it's something that, can really lead us astray. And that's what we're talking about right here. Thanks for your comments, Shoshana, but that's really funny. So now I have an invitation for you guys. And so this is an invitation to breakthrough. So I know that for a lot of you and for a lot of single people in general, you get stuck in a pattern, or, you feel like you're trying a lot of things to meet new people and to really date differently, and it just is not working. And you're just like so frustrated. And I know there's so much frustration out there. And if any of you were on my webinar where I really talked about like the sort of the modern dating crisis that we're in and why it's so hard, like there are a lot of factors that really contribute to really why it's so challenging for so many people right now, but it is. And so I wanted to find a way to offer thing to help, and even if it's just a short-term thing, just something that could really help you to break through to the next level. So this is something that I've just developed. It's a brand new offering, and this is a very, very introductory offer that I'm giving you guys, and it's just between now and Saturday. So it's just for the next 72 hours, and that also applies for those of you who are watching this on the replay. And if you're feeling frustrated, if you're feeling hopeless when it comes to dating, or you're just tired of wasting your time, feeling like you're spinning your wheels, maybe you're on a bunch of apps, or you're not on any apps, or you're dating online, or you're not dating online, and you're just like, you feel like you're trying things, or you're too scared to try things, or the things you tried aren't working, then this is for you. So this is a kind of a little subset of a longer offering that I typically do, and it's called Breakthrough Session. It is a questionnaire that is for you to answer, and it's all about you. It's about your personality. It's about your values. And, honestly, usually for my clients who fill out this questionnaire, just the process of doing the questionnaire itself is really a breakthrough for them. So I kind of give them the questionnaire, and they, and they do it, and then they like email me or call me. They're like, oh my God, that was amazing. I learned so much about myself. And then as part of that, there is a feedback survey that I have that is for your family and friends, because they know you very well and they love you. And they probably see some things about what's going on in your life and what's going on in your dating life that you don't see, because that's just how it goes, right? Like they can see things, other people can see things about ourselves that we cannot see. So that feedback survey, I actually have them to send that feedback to me directly, and then I present it to you. And so I take the things that are a consensus, and I say, this is some of the feedback that I received, and we talk about that and see if it kind of fits with all of the other things that you've identified as some of the things that are going right and some of the things that are going not so right in your love life. And then we have a breakthrough session. So this is a one-on-one session with you and me, and it's all about really, really getting clear on exactly what your patterns are, right? Everybody has a pattern, what your pattern is, and also how to break through it, really, how to break through it, how to move forward, how to start to meet the right kinds of people for you, and to really recognize what that looks like, because, not everybody knows what that looks like. Like, I know I need to date somebody who wants a family and wants commitment and is loyal and is affectionate, but I don't even know. I don't even know how to find that. So I don't even know what that looks like. So that's one of the things that we'll talk about in that breakthrough session. And then I want to do, and I added this on because I've had people request to do this one big session. And I know that 2.5 hours sounds like a long time, but I swear it's not painful. It goes by very quickly. And I love doing these sessions. And so I've had people who've wanted to do just the session. And what I find is that, usually you come out of the session with a lot of momentum, a lot of clarity, feeling very inspired. And then I would follow up with people like a month or two later and be like, hey, like, how's it going? This thing we talked about, that thing we talked about. And they're like, oh yeah, no, I haven't gotten around to doing that. Oh no, I kind of haven't really followed through with that thing I thought, that we kind of agreed that I should do. And so because of that reason, I want to have a follow-up session with you after that, because I want to make sure that you're really taking the steps to start to do things differently so you can have a different result, because that's what it is all about. So I am offering this to you. Again, this is very, this is a very, very reduced rate. And this is just available between now and midnight Saturday, June 11th. So you will get all of that for $397. And I can promise you this rate will never be so low ever again, but I really wanted to create something that is accessible to people. I love doing these sessions, and I love helping people to see things that you just can't see on your own, because you wouldn't even know what you looked like, right? And that's really what coaching is. It's a mirror, and I really love doing this. So I want to, I'm running a business, so I need to really, respect that and value that. But I wanted to offer you guys this really special rate. So it's $397, or as an option. So one thing that I always do for my clients who work with me for a longer period of time is that I write them an online dating profile. It's totally customized just for you. And I also help them with their photos. So we do a photo consult. They send me photos. I give them some direction. And I want to offer that to you guys as an add-on. Again, this is a very discounted rate. So if you want to do the breakthrough session, you can also add on the online dating profile that I will write for you, and also the photo consult for an additional $127. So it's a really good rate. Expires in 72 hours, midnight Saturday, June 11th. I'm reading it. I'm still reading it wrong. So it's $397 for the breakthrough session. Or if you add on the online dating profile and the photo consult, that is $524 if you pay in full, or you can do that in 2 payments of $279. So the price just goes up a little bit if you do 2 payments. And like I said, this is just good through Saturday, June 11th, this Saturday. And if you are interested or you want to know more, so if you know, this is not a commitment to signing up, but if you at least want to get me to send you the information directly so you can have it all and think about it, you can text. And you can text at 44222, 44222. That is the phone number. And you can just text the word Love Coach, all one word, 44222 to Love Coach. And if you text me at that number, text the word Love Coach, then I will send you all of the information via your email so you can have everything you need to decide. And I hope this is clear. Yeah, 44222 is the number, and just text the word Love Coach, all one word. And that's really it. And if you guys have any questions, you want to connect with me, you want to connect with me on social media, you want to email me, you can go to my website and you can book a free intro, a free session with me, a 30 minutes love and dating discovery session with me. You can do that at francescahogi.com. And you can email me at francescahogi.com, and you can connect with me on every social media platform, everything, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, Pinterest, Snapchat. I'm a big fan of Snapchat these days. I am at Dear Franny everywhere, so very easy to find. And I thank you so much for joining me. And Shoshana just followed up, and her definition of chemistry, I think I was being, she said, I think I was being basic. Someone who I connected with, enjoyed being around them. Yeah, I think that's right. Yeah, I mean, I think it's really that connection, right? It's just that feeling when you go out with 10 people and there's one person that you're like, oh my God, this is the person I feel connected to. This is the person that I'm attracted to. You know, it's not, I think I agree there are degrees of chemistry, right? Like sometimes you meet someone and you think, this is the love of my life. And sometimes you meet someone and you're like, I'm very intrigued, right? Like I'm drawn to this person. And, you know, so there are definitely degrees of it. But whatever it is, it's amazing. And it's definitely one of the things that makes being a human awesome. It's just one of those things that can, lead us astray sometimes. But I hope that you all have lots of beautiful, long-lasting chemistry created. And if I can help you with that process, I would be extra happy to do that. And again, you can text the word Love Coach to 44222. So 44222. Love Coach, all one word, if you want some more information about my special offer for you guys. And I thank you so much for taking an hour out of your evening or afternoon or morning, depending on when you're listening to this, to spend it with me. And I appreciate you, and I wish you lots of love and a wonderful night. Thanks so much.